Unit 3, Boolean expressions and if statements. Topic 3.4, else-if statements. Previously, we looked at one-way selection and a two-way selection. What if we wanted to program even more multiple options? We can do so through multi-way selection using the keyword else-if. Let's look at the structure of a multi-way selection, an if, else-if, else statement. The very first statement starts with the keyword if, followed by a condition or Boolean expression. If the condition or Boolean expression evaluates to true, the code inside the curly braces will run and the remaining code will be ignored. If the first condition evaluates to false, your computer will look at the next statement. Notice that it starts with the keyword else if and is followed by a Boolean expression. Anytime there's the keyword if in your code, it will be followed by a Boolean condition. If the second condition evaluates to true, your computer will run the code within that curly braces. If the second condition evaluates to false, your computer will look at the next statement. If that condition evaluates to true, the code in those curly braces will run, and so on and so forth. At the end of a multi-selection statement, you will have an else statement. Notice that it is not followed by a Boolean condition. This means that if all previous statements evaluate to false, run this code. Sometimes the final else statement is called the default answer. If all else fails, run this code. A multi-way selection is written when there are a series of conditions with different statements for each condition. Multi-way selection is performed using if, else-if statements such that exactly one section of code is executed based on the first condition that evaluates to true. This is the question bot that can output different responses depending on the question that the user inputs. Using a series of if, else-if statements, exactly one will be executed based on the first condition that evaluates to true. Look at the unicorn bot in action. Pay attention to what the user inputs and which of the statements and their conditions are executed. Look at the else statement. Look at all the information inside that and what is executed. Let's look at this other example. What do you notice about this series of if statements? Why did the programmer choose not to use else-if statements here? Do you think it was a mistake or intentional? It's important to think like a machine. When using else-if statements, your computer will only execute the first true statement. Every other statement will be ignored. When using a series of if statements, your computer will check every single one. If statements are not ignored. In this example, it is important to check the positions of every switch and slider so the correct color is displayed. If the programmer had chosen to use else-if statements, important information would have been ignored by the computer.